Hi guys, I just wanted to do a very quick video on green tea. I know I've covered green tea previously. I've written quite a few times about green tea on my blog. Um, I found a very interesting paper that I thought was a good reflection of the scientific literature that's been done on green tea to date. Uh, of all the foods that you could go and research in the scientific literature, I think green tea is the one that has been shown possibly to have the greatest health effects. I think the evidence now is strongly in favour that green tea is a very healthy food. And of all the foods, I think it's possibly the one change you could make to your diet. Incorporating green tea into your diet would be the one change that would have the most effects. And this paper really sums up my feelings on green tea. So the subjects took 379 milligrams of green tea extract every day. They did that for 3 months, and I'll read off the effects that they managed to derive from taking this green tea extract. The subjects, they were overweight subjects, and they did have hypertension. So let's say they were possibly at risk of metabolic syndrome. It doesn't actually say whether they were tested for metabolic syndrome, but it looks like they had many biochemical changes that would be indicative of them having metabolic syndrome. So they weren't healthy subjects, but they weren't diagnosed with specific diseases. They were just relatively overweight with hypertension. And from taking 379 milligrams of green tea, they got a reduction in systolic blood pressure, a reduction in diastolic blood pressure, a reduction in total cholesterol, a reduction in fasting triglycerides, a reduction in fasting insulin, a reduction in insulin resistance, a decrease in inflammation, and an increase in total antioxidant status. So assuming that they did have metabolic syndrome, those effects are the types of effects that you would expect if metabolic syndrome was starting to being treated. Those are the symptoms you would see if you did have metabolic syndrome. So green tea appears to be a very effective food at fighting, reducing the risk and reducing the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. Now, this paper was particularly interesting because of the wide number of effects that were measured within the green tea. You could go and find other papers, I'm sure, that have already looked at many of those effects, but this was one paper that showed all of the effects in a single group of individuals that were treated with green tea. This research was in a journal called Nutrition Research, and it's a very good example to give to people if you need to show the effects of green tea. Because they're all there in one paper to see. Now, these effects were significant. They did statistical tests to be able to determine whether these effects were significant compared to the placebo. And those effects that I've just read out, they were significant, statistically significant. So there was an improvement over the placebo, and that's not a large amount of green tea. 379 milligrams of green tea. That's probably similar to what you might find in 1 or 2 capsules of green tea. It's certainly no more than you would get in a cup of green tea. And this just shows the powerful effects of green tea, and I think it shows 2 things. Firstly, green tea is a very healthy food, and secondly, those people that get metabolic syndrome, their diets are generally so bad that a cup of green tea makes all of this effect. Now, I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it does. I think people's diets are getting worse. I think people have now become desensitized to the effects of bad diets. They're everywhere. You can't get away from bad diets, and now so many people have these bad diets that people have started to think that they're normal. And there's many studies coming out now where you can do very small things like giving a capsule of green tea extract, and it has such a big effect because the diets are so poor, they're so lacking in antioxidants, they're so lacking in essential nutrients. You've only got to supply a small amount of beneficial compounds and it has a big effect. Now, obviously, a healthy person with an already healthy diet wouldn't probably see effects as large as that was seen in this study. But if you do know anyone that eats a very unhealthy diet, if you do know anyone that you think has the symptoms of metabolic syndrome, perhaps they put weight on, particularly around their abdomen, looks like they've got a lot of abdominal fat. If they do have high blood pressure, they do look at risk of metabolic syndrome. Maybe you should recommend that they drink green tea, show them this paper, show them the results of this paper, and show them the effects that they could get. There's no drug that I've ever heard of, and I don't think there is a drug that exists that you would find that would have all of these effects. And of course, these effects were seen without any side effects. There's no side effects to drinking green tea. Okay, if you drink it late at night, you might not be able to get to sleep if you're caffeine sensitive. But apart from that, there is no, there are no side effects to drinking green tea. There's no drug in existence that has ever been able to have these effects with no side effects. And if there was, it would be worth billions to whoever came up with it. Yeah, you can go into any shop, you can buy green tea, you can have a cup of green tea a day. And it will have all of these effects. So green tea is a very healthy food. I have written extensively about green tea on my blog, so I do recommend that you go and check that out. I will put the link to the paper in the comments box below this video, so you can have a look at the paper, you can show it to other people. If you've got any comments on this video, please leave them in the comments box below as well, and as always, I'll try to get back to you, and I will see you next week for another video. So in the meantime, take care.